Before the bullets fly, hit like and drop a comment. Help this story reach more sci-fi fans like you. Hey Vaughn, check this out, Ohio. What the hell is in Ohio? The other one, taller, in the gleaming blue-gray armor of the Imperial Forward Corps, leaned down and lifted a bent road sign from a pile of gravel and dead leaves. Something primitive. Varn muttered. His accent clipped each word like they were wasting time. Keep moving. They moved past the collapsed remnants of a bridge crumbling asphalt. Giving way to gravel drones buzzed overhead. The ground shimmered under their boots. Not from heat, but from the thin layer of energy, their suits generated a few clicks behind them. The rest of the squad swept the ruins, poking into old barns and gas stations with scanners. None of them looked worried. Why should they? Earth had fallen over a decade ago. The humans who fought back now were just rats chewing wire and walls irritating, but hardly worth real firepower down the valley hiding under camouflage netting and 4 feet of soil. Cole pressed his eye to a cracked periscope lens. He watched the soldiers laugh and kick through the bones of his childhood. He did not move. Not yet 3 on the north slope. Came a whisper in his earpiece. It was Harland. They are splitting. I got visual on 2. Near the tower, one stopped to piss on a school bus. Cole blinked. His other eye still bore a long scar, jagged like a lightning bolt from orbital glass. Years back, he switched angles and looked at the museum. Ruins ahead, what used to be the West Virginia Military Heritage Site, a place for tourists once now, just metal and ash, except the armory under it was still intact. They did not know that. Let them get closer, Cole said into his throat. Mike, let them think it is all trash. He reached beside him and ran his hand over the frame of an old M14 rifle. The wood was dry and darkened from smoke, but the bolt moved smooth when he racked it back next to it. Sat a duffel bag packed with brass. Rounds, nothing fancy, just lead and powder, but it worked, still did? Scouts are moving into the main building? Harlan said Varn's team heading downstairs. They found the vault. Cole watched as 3 of the Imperials started scanning the concrete floor. One pointed to a crack, another laughed, pulled out a plasma cutter and began slicing into the slab. They think it is a toy box. Cole said. He clicked his tongue twice. The radio passed the code from the far ridge. A single sharp pop cracked out one. Of the Imperials in the open, dropped armor sparking. The others, spun shouts filled the calms. Cole stood shouldered, the M14, and took 2 steps to the edge of the dugout. The rifle thumped once, a tight push against his shoulder. The nearest scout jerked his helmet, flipping back. Blood sprayed the rusted air. Now it started go loud. Cole ordered, light them up. The hillside behind him came alive. Old machine guns wrapped in tarps for weeks opened up with clattering fire axe M60s and old Browning. Dug into a trench, men in mix-matched gear stood and fired, none of them in formation, all of them aiming like it was their last day from behind a stack of tires. A kid named Roach dragged a belt-fed saw into position. One of the Imperials made it. Halfway across the lot, before collapsing pieces of armor, tumbling off like cracked pottery. Left side they are pushing. The Imperials had regrouped, 2 of them, hauling out a field shield, flickering blue as it absorbed rounds. The other 3 dropped to one knee and returned fire. Green bolts scorched trees and dirt. One hit the top of the museum, throwing chunks of stone. Skyward, Cole ducked. They will bring in air support. Harlan growled beside him. Fast. Let 'em, Cole answered. He slapped a fresh mag into his rifle and stood again. They will not find anything left to save the armory under the museum. Blew open not from a plasma cutter but from charges Cole's team had set weeks ago. The floor collapsed inward. Fire rose from the basement, but it was not destruction they triggered. It was an awakening. The Imperials kept mocking them, even as they dragged the dead away in armored transports, even as they double-patrolled their next targets. The officers laughed. They still use bullets, one of them said in a bar above the ruined Atlanta skyline, crude toys they had not seen. What Cole saw, the armory under the museum had more than rifles. It had gear, old stuff forgotten but functional, repaired by hands that remembered how to make things. Without nanofabs, rebuilt with grease and bolts. Not plasma and nodes, they found mortars, hand-cranked radios, a tank that needed fuel and prayer. The Imperials kept calling it junk. Cole just kept loading 3 days after the first attack, a recon. Drone passed low over the ridge where Cole's team had moved next. It did not report back. They waited when the scouts came to look for it. Cole let them get within 50 meters before opening fire. The enemy armor was good, but it was made for open. Wore not rocks and woods. Their suits gleamed but snagged on branches. Their rifles fired hot bolts, but only when the line of sight was clear. Cole's men did not need sight. They knew the trees. More recruits showed up every day, ragged men, some boys. Some gray-bearded, a few with military tattoos long since outlawed by the Empire. One man, Price, carried a lever-action Winchester and could hit a bottle at 200 meters with iron sights. Another Darl dragged a Claymore mine from a half-collapsed bunker near an old Air Force base. They wired it to a tripwire when the next patrol came. The jungle swallowed them whole. The Imperial message board stopped laughing. They started calling it pocket warfare. Cole called it something else, home field. It was not about numbers, it never was. The Empire had thousands of troops, orbital strikes, walking tanks, and drones that could peel skin off a man from a mile away, but in the Appalachians, none of that mattered. Too many trees, too much ground that shifted with seasons and storms. The old trails turned to traps. The relics were working. They powered a generator taken from a mine shaft. They patched gear with wire pulled from telephone poles. One of the boys' Stokes managed to get a rotary cannon. Working from a museum display, they mounted it on the ridge and cranked 6 barrels fed by a belt from an old ammo can. No sensors, no AI lock-on, just raw spin. Cole smiled when he saw it fire the first time it shredded a testing target in seconds. And it was just the start. Night came hard in the mountains. Fog rolled in like waves. The stars above blinked through shattered clouds, silver light hitting bark and stone. Cole sat by the radio, tapping through encrypted channels, listening for Imperial chatter. He heard panic words like disruption, unexpected resistance, and counter patterns. They did not understand. They still thought this was war. But Cole had seen real war. This was payback. He clicked off the radio and stood. The men were bedding, down in quiet corners, rifles laid near hammocks or dugouts. They were not polished, but they were ready. The relics had awakened, and they were hungry. The wind scraped over the canyon pass like it was sharpening something dry, narrow, steep on both sides. It was the only way through the southern slope if you had heavy gear or transports. That is why Cole chose it. He stood on a ledge above the trail, looking down far below. 2 clicks out, he could see the shimmer of Imperial armor marching in. Formation, they were coming slow, methodical, all straight lines and confidence. He turned and walked back to the ridge line behind him. Roach was elbow deep in the guts of the Gatling gun. Sweat ran down the boy's jaw, even in the cool mountain air. "How is she holding?" Cole asked. Roach gave a short grunt. "Clean the feed ramp barrels, good, no jams in the last cycle, crank smooth. Now Stokes reworked the belt lengths, it is ready." Cole nodded. "Mount her." The gun looked ancient because it was iron frame. Twin-leg base and a steel drum bolted under a makeshift platform of sandbags and corrugated steel. It had no sensors, no electronics, no shielding, but the barrels gleamed like firelight under the rising sun. Below the Imperial line drew closer. They did not expect anything in the pass. Their scouting had come up empty. That was the point. Harlan stepped up beside Cole holding a rangefinder. He adjusted the scope, cursed under his breath. 75 strong 2 matched in the rear scout drones. Out front, Cole did not flinch. Let them in. It took another 30 minutes for the enemy to reach the kill zone. They did not slow down. Not when they entered the canyon's throat, not when their boots hit the markers Cole had laid days before Vaughn was with them. Cole recognized the helmet, still painted clean, still shiny. Roach spun the crank once the barrels rotated slow, then faster. Metal on metal, a dry rattle. The sound built until it growled, then it screamed. The Gatling gun opened fire. With a roar that shook the ridge, high-caliber rounds, actual lead, jacketed with copper-packed and restored brass, poured into the canyon like a river of teeth. The first row of Imperials vanished in a mist. Their armor cracked and burst, limbs flew. Blood painted the rock walls. The second line ducked for cover, but there was none. The rounds did not stop. Cole had loaded 10 belts, tracer fire stitched across the narrow path. One of the mechs in the back staggered, its left side blown open like a tin can. Sparks and fluids burst from the wound. "Keep feeding," Roach shouted. His hands blurred as he pushed the belt into the chamber. The Gatling gun did not stutter. It spun hotter. Brass clinked against the steel platform. Smoke rose the second. Mech tried to turn Stokes, hit the detonator. The rock wall beside it blew out in a burst of concrete and old mining explosives. The mech toppled one leg, sheared off the other, folded backward. The Imperials scattered. Half their squad tried to retreat. Too late. Harlan and Price opened fire from flanking ridges. Bolt-action rifles fired. A squad leader went down screaming, his chest torn open. Another fell with his helmet rolling away, blood streaking from his ears. "Keep firing. See." Model Cole pulled a tarp off an old Humvee, then we walk in. They moved after midnight. Fog rolled in. Thick Cole wore black. No insignia. He crouched at the fence line, stared at the shimmer of light bouncing off the wire. Roach popped the power unit. With a hooked rod and battery drain, the fence flickered, then went dark. Stokes slid the gate open. They slipped through. One guard noticed too late. A knife took his voice before he could shout. They breached the main door using a pipe bomb. The hallway, behind it filled with gas and light. Cole led the charge. The fight was over in 2 minutes. No alarms, no survivors. They raided the crates, found ammo rations, a drone pad with 3 recon units, batteries, armor plates. Load everything Cole ordered. Burn the rest. They left the base in flames. In orbit, the Empire's brass met in tight rooms with echoing walls and too many screens. They spoke without laughter. Now Resistance pockets have grown. They are using pre-Empire tech. It is not supposed to work, but it does. Reports stacked up. Old cannons, antique rifles, crude mines, even sharpened rebar traps. And it was working. They tried jamming human comms, did not matter. Cole's people used hand signals, flares, mirror flashes, runners on dirt bikes. With no chips inside, every attack hit, hard disappeared fast. Imperial supply routes shrank, outposts went dark, recruitment surged across the continent. Cole's name started floating through channels whispered like smoke. Not a general, not a leader, a ghost. The man with the gun that never stopped. They set up next near a broken dam. The structure loomed like a giant spine, its concrete sides cracked and overgrown. They turned it into a fortress, solar panels on top, claymores buried in the mud, periscopes from submarines mounted as lookouts. Jenny sat on the high ridge barrels, cleaned, polished, and ready. Cole stood on the dam's cracked spine, scanning the horizon. In the far distance, he saw lights again, a column of transports, another force. Another test. He reached for his comm. Same plan, he said, same bait, let them come. The second the first round hit the lead. Transport fire washed across the canyon wall like someone ripped the night in half. The column stopped. Instantly. Screams echoed. Through the cold, Cole did not flinch. He was already moving. He ducked behind the sandbag wall, checked the ammo belt. Jenny's barrels were hot, steam pouring off the jacket. Roach worked the crank like it was a wheel on a sinking ship. Eyes locked. "Forward, keep it tight," Cole shouted. No gaps. Harlan fired his rifle from the opposite perch. A second transport, thicker hull. More armor jerked as a round cracked through its window. It skidded into the canyon wall engine, hissing. The Imperials spilled out. But they were not running this time. They came heavy. 10 exosuits stomped down with them, each one 3 meters tall and packed with enough weapons to level a block. They moved fast, ducking behind their own wrecks, firing back with charged plasma. Rounds. The ridge erupted. Trees splintered, rocks shattered. 2 of Cole's men went down in seconds, one screaming, the other silent. Cole dropped behind cover, spat blood from a chipped toothback line. "Get that launcher up," he yelled. Stokes rolled over. With the launcher tube, old shoulder-fired junk from the Cold War days, he slapped the trigger, and the missile kicked free with a hiss. It was not guided. It did not need to be. It hit the center mech square in the chest. The explosion knocked 3. Others sideways tore armor open. Fire rolled into the canyon, blinding everything for a heartbeat. Jenny Cole snapped. Roach kept turning the crank. Bullets screamed from the ridge, spitting sparks off metal and shields. One exosuit stumbled, twisted. As rounds chewed through its chest plate, then it dropped. 3 left. Harlan said, "Far wall?" Cole nodded. Slid his last mag into the M14. He moved down the side trail, boots sliding on loose stone. He zigzagged until he hit the old mining shaft. 2 minutes. Later, he was behind the line. He raised the rifle. 3 shots, 3 heads, jerked. The mech stopped moving by sunrise. The canyon smoked. 45 enemy soldiers dead. 5 mechs destroyed, 3 taken alive. They were young, maybe 20 trained, but not hardened. Cole stared down at them while Harlan paced nearby. "You know what this is?" Cole asked. The one in the middle said nothing. "This is the part you did not train for." Cole said, "You thought you would walk in and clean up. You thought we would run. But we are not hiding anymore." He leaned close. "This ground belongs to people who built things with their hands. We fight with steel, not with systems." The soldier blinked. Cole turned and walked out. "Let him live," he said to Harlan. "Let him run back and talk." Harlan grunted. "You think they will talk? They always do." The next week, resistance erupted worldwide in Germany. A crew found an old bunker loaded with World War II Aeropanzer Fausts. They used them to crush a scout division in the Black Forest in Chile. A group reactivated a pre-Empire rail system and used it to move ambush squads across mountains faster than Imperial drones could track in Japan. A team used ancient katanas and pump-action shotguns to raid a regional command post, then disappeared into the city sewers. The relics were not junk, they were keys. Keys to a war the Empire did not know how to fight in orbit. Panic set in the Imperial Council, rotated out half its field commanders. They issued new orders, new doctrines. They ordered total lockdowns, curfews, sector burns. None of it mattered. The resistance did not fight like an army. They fought like fire. They popped up, burned everything, vanished. Cole moved base again, took the team west deep into the heartlands, where the woods ran endless and roads were still just gravel. They hid in abandoned grain silos, wired old water towers into signal beacons. Jenny got an upgrade, cooling pipes, new handles, better ammo feed, still hand-cranked, still pure, roachwood. "Not let anyone else touch her feels wrong," he would say, stroking the barrels like a pet. "She knows me now." One night, a new recruit approached Cole at the fire. The man was scarred, heavy-set, a buzz cut like old military wrecks. "Name is Bannon," he said. Cole nodded. "You served? Did Bannon said before the fall been laying low in Montana? You come with anything?" Bannon smiled and reached into his bag, pulled out a drive, blueprints. He said got a full schematic of an old ballistic missile system, the kind they used to keep pointed at space. Cole stared at it. "Still work. If we can find the silo and the codes Cole took, the drive, then we will find them within a month." They did. The silo was deep underground, buried beneath farmland. It took them 5 days just to clear the path. 5 more to break open the sealed door inside dust and rot. But the structure held. The missile was intact. A Titan-class nuclear-capable relic from another war. "Can we launch it?" Harlan asked. No, Cole said not yet. They did not want to destroy the world. Just make a point. He sent the codes across secure channels. 2 weeks later, satellite scans picked up the power signature. The Empire finally noticed. They moved to full planetary lockdown. But it was too late. The fire was everywhere. Now Cole stood once more on a ridge, watching dawn rise over the broken world. Jenny stood beside him, oiled and ready. Harlan lit a cigarette. Stokes adjusted his scope below. Another column came through the trees. Cole raised his Rifle. He did not speak. He just aimed, fired. And the mountain answered back. Later that year, the Empire began evacuation protocols. They did not call it retreat. They said it was realignment, but the cities emptied, the fortresses fell, and in their place flags rose old ones, weathered stitched by hand, and the relics they stayed still loaded, still ready, still whispering that humanity does not break it. Reloads want more old-school humanity versus high-tech alien domination. Like, comment, and subscribe. New battles drop soon.